Respected. Have you ever looked into a woman's eyes and wondered, is she truly interested in me, or am I just imagining it? The answer may not be hidden in her words at all. It is often revealed in the quiet moments, in the small gestures, in the way she makes you feel when no one else is watching. Today, I want to share 3 powerful signs that can completely change the way you understand attraction, respect, and genuine emotional connection. There is something many men spend years trying to understand. They believe that if a woman likes them, she will simply say it. They expect obvious words, dramatic confessions, or unmistakable signals. But real life rarely works that way. Human emotions are much deeper than spoken language. Especially when genuine feelings are involved, actions almost always speak louder than words. I've met countless men who believed they had failed because they never heard the words they were hoping for. Years later, they discovered that the woman had cared for them deeply all along. She simply expressed it differently. Fear, uncertainty, past experiences, or even respect prevented her from saying everything directly. This is why emotional intelligence matters far more than confidence alone. The strongest relationships are not built by people who know the best pickup lines. They are built by people who notice what others overlook. Imagine a quiet cafe on a rainy afternoon. A young man sits alone, reading a book. Across the room, a woman continues talking with her friends, but every few moments her attention naturally returns to him. She isn't forcing it. She isn't trying to create a scene. Something about him simply keeps drawing her focus. He notices nothing. He finishes his coffee, smiles politely at everyone, and leaves. One of her friends quietly laughs and says, "You spent the whole afternoon looking at him." She blushes. Not because she planned it, because her emotions revealed themselves before her words ever could. This is how attraction often begins, not with loud declarations, not with perfect conversations, but with attention. The first sign a woman genuinely wants you is that she naturally gives you her attention without realizing how much she's giving. Attention is one of the most valuable things any human being can offer. In today's world, everyone is distracted. Phones compete for attention. Social media competes for attention. Work competes for attention. If someone consistently chooses to focus on you despite all these distractions, that choice carries meaning. Notice how she listens, not just hearing your words, actually listening. She remembers the little details. You casually mentioned your favorite childhood meal weeks ago. Later, she asks whether you've eaten it recently. You briefly spoke about an important meeting. She remembers to ask how it went. You once admitted a fear that you rarely share with anyone. Instead of judging you, she remembers it with kindness. These are not accidents. People remember what emotionally matters to them. Real attraction creates curiosity. She genuinely wants to know how your day went. She notices changes in your mood. She senses when something feels different. She becomes interested not only in your happiest moments, but also in your struggles. That is where emotional attraction separates itself from simple physical attraction. Anyone can admire appearance. Very few people become invested in your emotional well-being. I remember hearing the story of an older couple who had been married for more than 40 years. Someone asked the husband, "When did you first know she loved you?" He smiled gently. "It wasn't when she said, 'I love you.' It was when she noticed I had stopped smiling." Think about those words. She noticed. Most people only notice success. The people who truly care notice your silence. They notice your tired eyes. They notice when your laugh sounds different. That kind of awareness doesn't come from obligation. It comes from emotional investment. Many men misunderstand this because they are searching for dramatic signals. But genuine affection often appears quietly. She may ask questions that seem ordinary. "Did you get home safely? Have you eaten today? You seem a little stressed." Simple words. Yet behind those questions lies something much bigger: concern, care, presence. Never underestimate the power of someone who consistently checks whether you're okay. In a world filled with temporary conversations, genuine concern is incredibly rare. However, there is another important truth. Do not confuse politeness with emotional interest. Some people are naturally kind. Some are caring toward everyone. The difference is consistency. When a woman genuinely wants you, her attention becomes personal. She remembers your stories because they matter to her. She notices your absence because your presence affects her day. She celebrates your victories because your happiness brings her joy. This cannot be faked forever. Human emotions always reveal themselves over time. Many men chase attention from dozens of people while overlooking the one person quietly choosing them every single day. Sometimes love doesn't arrive shouting your name. Sometimes it simply sits beside you and listens. Life has taught me something very important. People reveal their hearts through investment. Where attention goes, emotions often follow. If someone repeatedly chooses to understand you instead of merely impressing you, never ignore that gift. Because understanding is one of the purest forms of affection. And perhaps the greatest tragedy is not missing someone who never loved you. It is failing to recognize someone who truly did. The first sign is not about grand romance. It is about quiet presence. It is about someone making room for you inside their thoughts, even during an ordinary day. That is where every meaningful relationship begins. Not with perfection, not with performance, but with sincere attention that quietly says, "You matter to me." There is another lesson that many people never truly understand until life teaches it the hard way. Attraction is not measured by how loudly someone speaks about you. It is measured by how willingly they make space for you in their life. The second sign that a woman genuinely wants you is that she consistently creates opportunities to be close to you. Now, this does not always mean physical closeness. In fact, emotional closeness often comes first. Think about the people in your own life. No matter how busy you become, you somehow find time for those who genuinely matter to you. You answer their messages. You remember important dates. You make small adjustments in your schedule simply because seeing them feels worthwhile. This is not obligation, it is desire. A woman who truly wants you begins to include you in her world, often in ways so subtle that many men completely overlook them. Perhaps she sends you something that reminded her of you. A funny video, a meaningful quote, a photograph of a beautiful sunset. On the surface, these moments seem ordinary, but if you look deeper, you'll discover something remarkable. She was living her day, saw something meaningful, and your face appeared in her mind. That is emotional presence. You occupied her thoughts without asking to. Imagine a successful businesswoman with an incredibly demanding schedule. Meetings from morning until evening, deadlines, responsibilities, family obligations. Her calendar is full. Yet somehow, before she sleeps, she sends one short message. "I hope your presentation went well today." Only one sentence. It takes less than 10 seconds to write. But behind those 10 seconds stands an entire day of remembering. People rarely understand that love often hides inside consistency rather than intensity. Grand gestures are beautiful, but consistency changes lives. Flowers fade, expensive gifts lose their excitement, dramatic promises are forgotten, but someone who continues showing up, day after day, week after week, even when life becomes complicated, that is someone revealing genuine character. There is a story I once heard about an elderly man who visited his wife every afternoon. She suffered from severe memory loss. She no longer recognized him. A nurse finally asked him, "Why do you keep coming every day if she doesn't even know who you are?" The old man smiled gently and replied, "She may not know who I am, but I still know who she is." Think about that. Real affection is not always dependent on being noticed. It is demonstrated through commitment. Now, of course, early attraction is different from a lifelong marriage, but the principle remains the same. When someone values you, they naturally look for reasons, not excuses, to remain connected. Notice how she reacts when conversations end. Does she find another topic? Does she ask another question? Does she continue the conversation because she genuinely enjoys your company? Many people speak because silence feels uncomfortable. Someone who likes you speaks because your presence feels comfortable. There is a profound difference. Sometimes she may invite you into small parts of her daily routine. Perhaps she asks your opinion before making a decision. Maybe she tells you about her day before anyone else. She shares little victories. She laughs about embarrassing moments. She trusts you with disappointments she hides from the rest of the world. Trust is one of the strongest expressions of emotional attraction. People protect their vulnerable side. They reveal it only where they feel emotionally safe. If she gradually lowers those emotional walls around you, she is telling you something far more meaningful than compliments ever could. She is saying, "I feel safe here." And safety is the foundation of every lasting relationship. Unfortunately, many men misunderstand this process. They become impatient. They want certainty immediately. They expect emotions to grow overnight. But healthy relationships resemble planting a tree. The roots develop long before anyone admires the branches. Patience creates strength. Pressure creates distance. One of the greatest mistakes a man can make is forcing clarity before trust has had time to grow. Instead of appreciating her comfort around him, he demands answers. Instead of enjoying the journey, he rushes toward the destination. Real emotional connection cannot be rushed. It unfolds naturally, like sunrise, quietly, steadily, beautifully. I once met a man who told me about the woman who eventually became his wife. He confessed that during the first few months, he never wondered whether she liked him. He noticed something much simpler. Whenever a group gathered together, she somehow ended up standing beside him. Not deliberately, not dramatically. It simply happened. When everyone laughed, she instinctively looked toward him. When something exciting happened, he became the first person she wanted to tell. Years later, after they married, he asked her, "When did you first realize you had feelings for me?" She smiled. "I realized it the day I started looking for you every time I entered a room." Isn't that remarkable? Love often begins with a search. Without realizing it, the heart starts asking a silent question. Where is that person? It isn't because life feels empty without them. It is because life feels brighter when they are near. That is why presence matters so much. Never underestimate someone who simply enjoys being around you. Not because they need something, not because they expect something, but because your company brings them peace. In today's world, peace is becoming increasingly rare. People are surrounded by noise, competition, stress, comparison. If your presence becomes a place where someone feels calm, respected, and understood, you have already given them something priceless. Remember this carefully. Do not judge interest only by passion. Judge it by effort. Anyone can become excited for a moment. Very few people remain consistent over time. Consistency reveals intention, and intention reveals the heart. If a woman repeatedly chooses to include you in her conversations, her time, her thoughts, and her everyday moments, do not dismiss those actions as coincidence. Life is made of ordinary days. When someone willingly shares those ordinary days with you, they are offering something extraordinary. Because the most meaningful relationships are not built during perfect moments. They are built through countless ordinary moments shared with extraordinary care. There is one final sign that is often the most powerful of all, yet it is also the easiest to misunderstand. Many people believe that when a woman truly wants you, she will try to impress you. Sometimes she does, but something far more meaningful happens before that. She begins to let you see who she really is. The third sign that a woman genuinely wants you is that she slowly becomes emotionally vulnerable with you. This is where attraction moves beyond excitement and enters the territory of trust. Trust is never built in a single conversation. It is earned, one honest moment at a time. Imagine meeting someone who always seems confident. She smiles, she laughs, she encourages everyone around her. From the outside, her life appears perfect. But one evening, during a quiet conversation, she suddenly pauses. Her smile fades. She tells you about a dream she never achieved. She speaks about a disappointment she has carried for years. She admits that sometimes she feels afraid. Not because she wants sympathy, not because she wants attention, but because, somewhere deep inside, she believes you will understand rather than judge. That moment is incredibly significant. People protect their hearts. They hide their fears. They cover their scars with confidence. When someone willingly removes that emotional armor around you, they are offering one of the greatest gifts a human being can give. They are offering authenticity. Think about children for a moment. They trust naturally. Then life happens. Disappointments, broken promises, betrayal, heartbreak. Slowly, people begin building emotional walls. Some walls are small. Others become so high that almost no one is allowed inside. When a woman genuinely likes someone, she doesn't immediately tear those walls down. Instead, she opens a small door. She lets him see pieces of herself that the rest of the world never notices. Perhaps she tells you about her family. Perhaps she shares childhood memories. Perhaps she admits a mistake she still regrets. Perhaps she confesses that she sometimes worries she isn't good enough. These conversations are not random. They are invitations. They are her way of saying, "This is who I really am." Now here is where many men make a mistake. Instead of appreciating that vulnerability, they try to solve every problem. She shares a fear. He immediately gives advice. She shares sadness. He rushes to fix it. Sometimes people do not need immediate solutions. Sometimes they simply need someone who listens with compassion. One of the strongest qualities any man can develop is emotional presence, not always having the perfect answer, but creating a space where another person feels heard. I once heard about a young couple walking through a park after sunset. They weren't discussing careers. They weren't talking about money. They weren't making plans. Instead, they spoke about their fears. The woman admitted she was terrified of disappointing the people she loved. The man quietly listened. After a long silence, he simply said, "You don't have to be perfect around me." Years later, she would say that those 7 words changed her life, not because they solved every problem, but because they removed the pressure to pretend. How many people spend their entire lives pretending to be stronger than they feel, pretending not to care, pretending not to hurt, pretending not to need anyone? Real love begins the moment pretending becomes unnecessary. That is why vulnerability is so precious. It is honesty without performance. There is another beautiful detail you should notice. When a woman wants you, she becomes interested in your emotional world as well. She doesn't only speak, she invites you to speak. She asks about your dreams. She asks about your fears. She wants to know what shaped the man sitting in front of her. Not because she is collecting information, because understanding creates closeness. Many men were raised believing they must hide every emotion. They learned that strength means silence, that tears are weakness, that asking for support somehow makes them less masculine. But true strength is different. Real strength is having the courage to be genuine. A confident man does not pretend to have no fears. He simply refuses to let fear control his character. Women who seek meaningful relationships often admire emotional maturity far more than emotional perfection. Perfection creates distance. Authenticity creates connection. There is an old saying that wisdom does not come from avoiding storms. It comes from surviving them with kindness still in your heart. Your experiences shape you. Your failures teach you. Your struggles give depth to your character. When someone wants to hear those stories, not to judge you, but to understand you, they are investing in something much deeper than attraction. They are investing in your soul. Never underestimate someone who remembers your difficult days instead of only celebrating your successful ones. Anyone can stand beside you when life is easy. Character reveals itself during hardship. If she stays present when your confidence shakes, if she encourages you when your plans fall apart, if she believes in your potential even when you doubt yourself, those actions carry extraordinary meaning. Because encouragement is one of the purest forms of love. There is another truth that life has taught me. Healthy love never asks you to become someone else. It inspires you to become the best version of yourself. Notice how you feel after spending time with her. Do you feel peaceful? Do you feel respected? Do you feel motivated to grow? Or do you constantly feel anxious, uncertain, and afraid of making mistakes? The right emotional connection does not drain your spirit. It strengthens it. Like sunlight helping a tree grow toward the sky. That is the beauty of genuine affection. It never shrinks your confidence. It quietly expands your courage. Perhaps that is why the happiest couples often describe each other as home. Not because they live in the same house, but because they found a place where they could finally stop pretending. A place where silence feels comfortable, where imperfections are accepted, where honesty is welcomed, and where two imperfect people choose each other, not because they have flawless lives, but because they have found someone worthy of trusting with their truth. That is the deepest sign of all. When a woman trusts you enough to reveal her real heart, she is not merely showing attraction. She is showing the possibility of something lasting, something meaningful, something that can endure long after beauty fades and excitement settles into quiet companionship. Because in the end, genuine love is not built on perfect moments. It is built on two people who are brave enough to be completely themselves. As we come to the final part of this journey, I want you to pause for a moment and ask yourself a simple question. Have you been searching for someone who truly wants you? Or have you been chasing the approval of someone who never intended to stay? This question has changed countless lives because too often people spend years trying to convince someone to love them while quietly ignoring the person who has already been showing genuine care through consistent actions. Life has a way of teaching us that the loudest emotions are not always the deepest ones. Excitement can arrive in a moment, passion can appear unexpectedly, but trust, respect, loyalty, those are built slowly, through hundreds of ordinary choices that most people never notice. The 3 signs we have discussed are not tricks. They are not psychological games. They are reflections of human nature. A woman who truly wants you naturally gives you her attention. She chooses to make space for you in her everyday life. And eventually, she trusts you enough to reveal the parts of herself that she hides from the rest of the world. These signs cannot be forced. They cannot be purchased, and they cannot be manipulated. They grow where sincerity exists. That is why I want to speak not only about recognizing these signs in others, but also about becoming the kind of man who naturally inspires them. Many men ask, how do I make a woman want me? Perhaps that is the wrong question. A better question is, how do I become someone worthy of genuine love? The answer has very little to do with appearance, very little to do with expensive possessions, and almost nothing to do with pretending to be someone you are not. Real confidence is quiet. It does not compete, it does not beg for attention, it simply exists. A man who respects himself speaks honestly. He keeps his promises. He controls his anger instead of allowing anger to control him. He treats people with kindness even when nobody is watching. His character remains steady whether life is rewarding him or testing him. That kind of strength is rare, and rare things are valuable. I remember hearing about a father who gave his son a small pocket watch on his 18th birthday. The watch was old, its leather strap was worn, its surface carried tiny scratches from decades of use. The young man looked disappointed. He had expected something newer, something more expensive. His father smiled and said, "Before you decide its value, take it to 3 different places." The young man first visited a pawn shop. The owner looked briefly at the watch and offered a very small amount. Next, he visited an antique dealer. The dealer examined it carefully and offered hundreds of times more. Finally, he visited a museum that specialized in historic timepieces. The curator became speechless. He explained that the watch was incredibly rare and almost impossible to replace. On his way home, the young man finally understood. The value of something often depends on who is looking at it. The same is true for people. Never measure your worth by the attention of someone incapable of recognizing your character. The wrong person may overlook your kindness. They may ignore your loyalty. They may fail to appreciate your honesty. That does not reduce your value. It simply means they were never the right person to see it. This is where many hearts become trapped. Instead of walking toward those who appreciate them, they continue chasing those who repeatedly walk away. They mistake uncertainty for excitement. They mistake inconsistency for mystery. They mistake emotional distance for challenge. But healthy love is not a competition. It is not a puzzle designed to exhaust you. It is not something that constantly leaves you questioning your worth. Healthy love brings clarity. It brings peace. It brings encouragement. Yes, every relationship faces difficulties. Misunderstandings happen. Life becomes complicated. No 2 people agree on everything. But when respect is present, conflict becomes a bridge rather than a wall. Both people listen. Both people learn. Both people grow. The goal is never to win an argument. The goal is to protect the relationship. There is another lesson that deserves to stay with you long after this video ends. Do not become so focused on finding the perfect partner that you forget to become the right partner yourself. Read more, learn more, heal from your past, forgive where possible, take responsibility for your mistakes. Become emotionally mature enough to apologize without losing your dignity. Become confident enough to celebrate another person's success without feeling threatened. Become peaceful enough that your presence feels safe rather than stressful. Because the greatest gift you can offer another human being is not perfection. It is emotional safety. When someone feels emotionally safe with you, they laugh more freely. They dream more boldly. They speak more honestly. They become more completely themselves. And isn't that what every human heart truly longs for? To be accepted without pretending, to be respected without performing, to be loved without constantly proving their worth. If you carry this understanding into your relationships, everything begins to change. You stop chasing attention. You start recognizing sincerity. You stop forcing connections. You begin allowing the right people to naturally enter your life. You stop fearing loneliness. You begin valuing peace. Because peace is never the enemy of love. Peace is often its strongest foundation. One day, perhaps sooner than you expect, you will meet someone whose actions quietly answer every question your heart has been asking. You won't need endless guessing. You won't need constant reassurance. You won't need to wonder where you stand. Her consistency will tell you. Her kindness will tell you. Her respect will tell you. And your own heart, finally free from confusion, will recognize the difference between temporary attention and lasting affection. Remember this whenever doubt begins to whisper into your mind. Never chase what constantly runs from you. Never ignore what consistently walks beside you. And never underestimate the quiet power of genuine care. Because in the end, love is not proven by beautiful promises. It is proven by ordinary moments repeated with extraordinary sincerity. The strongest relationships are not built by two perfect people. They are built by two honest people who choose each other, protect each other, and continue growing together through every season of life. May you become the kind of person whose character speaks before your words. May you recognize real affection when it appears. And may you never settle for anything less than a relationship built on trust, respect, patience, and genuine love.